Hello, everyone. Welcome, and thanks for tuning in. Hi, Simon. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much, Sebastian.
I'm very excited for this stream because it has been less than 24 hours since GPT-5 has been released, and it's already available in like all the JetBrains tools. That's already like a very cool start. But mainly, I really wanted to get on camera and try it out because it's a lot of pretty big claims yesterday in the keynote. You know, it sounds like the thing's pretty good. Sounds like the thing can do a lot. So yeah, I don't know. What was your first impression?
Well, the hype is certainly big, so I'm very curious to see if it will live up to the hype. I'm always a bit cautious with the new models, trying them out on real application, real code basis.
Yeah.
Let's see how it goes.
So yeah, we're just gonna be playing around with it a little bit. We have a couple of small projects, couple of starter projects as well, just so that we can kind of see. Like my idea would be to throw GPT-5 like slowly increasing in difficulty like tasks, and we'll see how far it goes. Oh yeah, hi everybody in the chat. So yeah, do say hello if you're tuned in. Very excited to have you folks here. So let's just start. First of all, by spreading the good news once again. Like all the GPT-5 stuff, that's already all baked into all of the JetBrains tooling that you can get. So if you're using AI Assistant to answer some questions, or even to use it in edit mode where you're making changes, if you're using Junie as the agentic solution, to just like build out entire features or entire apps, that's also great. Or if you're using Kineto, our new no-code solution for building entire apps end-to-end, all of those can now use GPT-5 under the hood. It's a very nice little intro video from our CEO Keir as well. If you want to check that out later on, I'll also drop a link to the announcement post into the chat. But for now, we are here to get our hands dirty with some actual code. So I'm just gonna get this out of the way, and we're gonna like just move straight into my IntelliJ installation here. And yeah, like the ChatGPT-5 or GPT-5, I should say, immediately becomes noticeable in AI Assistant down here as one of the new models. It's a reasoning model, and it does support images, so that's kind of cool. Suppose we can ask it like, what model are you? And of course, AI chat helpfully attaches my my code file here, which is probably not necessary, but that's okay. And look at that. It is indeed GPT-5. So yeah, you can just pick this here in the dropdown. And if you're in Junie, you get a little banner that also tells you that GPT-5 is here. At least once you've done the latest update, so that you can just find under your plugins, right? And if you have auto update enabled, that should happen automatically. Otherwise, a little update button will appear here. Yeah, we can hit setup, and I believe it should actually be selected for you by default, but it's still good to check. You still have the other options that were used previously with Sonnet 3.7 and Sonnet 4, but default now is also GPT-5. We're here in a simple Compose for desktop application. So this is just the starter project. It has Compose Hot Reload enabled for it so that we can see changes a little bit more quickly. So if I head over here and from click me, I'll change this to press me, and I'll save the file manually. Then I think we'll see after a couple of seconds that the text does indeed change to press me. Okay, Simon, warm-up exercise for GPT-5 with Junie. Anything come to mind? You're muted, I think.
I'm sorry. Yeah, let's try something. I'm curious to see how GPT-5 handles Compose. As somebody that works more on the server side, having GPT take care of my front end would be great.
Oh yeah, for sure. Let's do something like super simple, like build a counter with plus and minus buttons, just so that we kind of have an idea of how long it's going to take to do that and what the code kind of looks like. Again, not a particularly hard problem. We still see that the essence, even with the new model, the essence of Junie, which is this tendency to explore things, the tendency to actually look at code, that's still here, and that's still something that's really helpful in our own tests when we were, for example, like doing this in other like larger code bases as well. This is kind of what enables Junie to emulate patterns pretty well. So if you already have an approach to something, then adding new things will kind of try to do the same kind of approach. Let's see here. It has done a couple of changes here. Doesn't seem that particularly difficult. Might still be tinkering for a little bit, but I can already see very classical. We're getting some sort of count state. It's even running the tests that are in this project, which is nice. And of course, we just got buttons for incrementing, decrementing. Nothing particularly special here. By the way, I'd also love to, of course, extend this as a request to all of you in the chat. If you have something that you would like to see us use GPT-5 for, please do. All right, first task, counter, success. That doesn't seem too bad. Even goes negative. Let's make it a little bit more interesting. Whoops, I just ripped out my audio cord. There we go. Let's make it a little bit more interesting. Let's just say when I press the plus button, make a small fountain of plus emojis fly out from the button. And we'll see how it can handle that. I feel like it's a pretty big step up, because this one seems like page 1 of the documentation of Compose, and that might take a minute.
I was going to say, the first prompt I probably can manage. This one, I'm not sure where I would have to start.
Well, Junie gives you a pretty good idea here. Look, you got to spawn things somewhere. Probably you need to use on global position to capture some coordinates, perhaps. Use some animatables with positions and alpha. We'll see how that goes. Again, we're not holding back here. I think the most interesting like observations always appear at like the edge of what's possible, right? If we're only doing things that work, then you know, where's the fun in that? Okay, well, we're seeing some ballistic motion with gravity, some fade out over time. It certainly seems like it compiles, which is very good. Let's take a peek. The random range is empty. From -60 to -120. I think someone's flipped a counter. Very interesting, very interesting.
So GPT-5 is not ugly yet.
We're not. Well, it kind of depends on what your Turing test is, right? Because you know, if I ask you the same thing, maybe you'd make the same mistake. Who knows? Random range is empty is interesting though. Like this is, I'm just curious. From -60 until -120. Okay, so it seems that something was flipped here, I think. Because that's actually very funny, because that that kind of aligns a little bit with all the memes of like asking ChatGPT which number is like bigger, 9.11 or like 9.5. And it always going like, 9.11, that's 11's bigger than 5, therefore it has to be, right? You know what? We're just gonna tell it. Random. I wish I had a way of copying this easily, but I don't. And it's opening bracket -60, -120. I love that they're using the like the syntax with the mismatched brackets. even during math class, I never could deal with this because it just felt wrong. The ones where it's like the same type of brackets I do prefer. Okay, that looks potentially a little bit better. It's a change I probably could have made as well, but where's the fun in that?
I see we got a question in the chat if we could have taken a screenshot and passed it to Junie. And as far as I'm aware, in the latest versions, support was added for it, but I haven't personally tried it.
That's
together,
something.
Together with GPT-5, support for image prompts was added.
So we should. Well, okay, so we definitely need to give it a try with that. I'm thinking we give it perhaps some MS Paint style. Like, here's what I want my UI to look like. Go nuts.
Yeah,
Perhaps.
we can definitely try.
Okay, a one-line change took a second, but we're back. And look at that. Actually looks really good. Can I ask it to just like zoom in the entire, or actually let's do it like this. Give me a slider at the top of the, and this can be a new task. Give me a slider at the top of the window that changes the local density for the entire app. The image import is only in AI Assistant for now. Okay. So here we can definitely see that we get the new add image attachment. Unfortunately, we can check it out over here. Yeah, I guess we might still be able to attach the file. The question is whether it's actually going to know anything about it, and that's probably where it gets a little questionable. I mean, on a Friday afternoon, we're of course probably also hitting like peak vibe coding hours. We can take a look here in the unified viewer. So this is actually something that I manually added at some point for, I believe manually, to the UI gallery view for the Kotlin Conf app, because it really helps if you're building like a detailed component if you can just zoom it, and the density is a great way to do that. So let me save this file. Now we got a density scale here, and indeed we can up the density. Interestingly enough, it seems that we have look at this. We have now figured out that someone did their math in a density dependent calculation. So now the things are spawning in the wrong place. Okay, so probably or hopefully we would have caught this in a code review, like looking at it. But the problem here most likely is, if we take a look here, well, I mean, the answer really is just we're not seeing any of this code use local density or DP anywhere. That's already like the big the big giveaway. So I guess we can just do that as another follow-up. It seems that the implementation does not respect changing densities. Make sure you operate in device independent pixels. Should have added please. Probably adds like another 2%. Yes. A fun question in here: can we use Junie for XML? And the answer is absolutely. So, I mean, I'm not working that much with XML, but for example, the translation strings in Android or composed multi-platform apps, those are XML, right? The string resource, and you can, like, Junie happily works with them, like absolutely not a problem. Yeah. And the other question, can we use custom models with Junie like Gemini? you can do it in AI Assistant. AI Assistant allows you to set up. First of all, we have a ton of models out of the box. So many that at my Zoom level they can't all be shown. But you can also set up local models, which is really cool. So if you have enough VRAM to set up like the latest GPT OSS models, there's the big ones and the small ones. You can just plug those into Olama, and then you can do a bunch of things where all the calculations, they all happen on your device, which is kind of cool.
Hi,
Anton
by the
asked,
way.
yeah, sorry, yes.
Yeah, just to come back to the images in the prompt, I just tried it quickly locally. You can actually drop an image into the Junie prompt.
Oh, we're so gonna do that for sure.
Yeah, and it works.
Amazing. Let me let me pull up like an online, like a whiteboard or something, or
an
just
Indigo website. They are not being made these days.
a what now?
An Indigo purple websites.
Oh, I see.
All you see these days.
Okay, listen. This is the default. This is default in material. We were purple-ish before the revolution. Okay. Does anybody in chat remember the very cool drawing tool that somebody showed me at a Advent of Code event? I don't remember. It might have been TL Draw. Indeed. It still has the drawings from my Advent of Code stuff on there. Very good, very good. Okay, so let's dream up some like some UI. Let's do like I want to do something pizza themed because I really want to have this thing work more with like circles and stuff. So let's first draw like a big rectangle. There we go. That's our app. And then we'll just start filling in. But also first, are you done yet? No. Okay. Well, sorry. Let me do a little bit of replacing. There we go. Okay. So we'll do a. I kind of want to have a pizza up here, like maybe even in like a split view. Now it's just welcome to art class. I apologize. We'll have a. I wonder if it's gonna read the text that I put in there. Let's add some pizza. So we'll have a pizza here, and then I don't know. We calculate like some calories, or like whether it's better to buy the square or the circle, or
the recipe. Yeah, I can tell you the recipe.
So tell me more about this idea. How do you want to do it?
I can tell you how I make pizza. I can tell you the recipe. If that's what you want to write down.
No, I need more app logic, man. That's the point.
Well, so the recipe is a calculation.
Okay. Basically. Oh, because of the hydration of the dough.
Yes, exactly. The hydration of the dough, is completely different for which kind of pizza you want to make.
Okay, so we have, and we'll go back to this, and we'll do like hydration calculator. Okay, and so what kind of input data do we need?
There's 4 things that go into pizza, which is flour, water, salt, and yeast.
And then
Salts.
From these, you can determine like one big number, or for like percentage.
So normally the flour is the basis, and everything is calculated in terms of the flour.
Okay, so flour is the input, and then everything else is generated based on top of that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Very good. So we have that, and then we have like three regular ones. I'm very curious to see how far where this is going to get us. There we go. And then at the top we just have a spinning pizza, just for flavor. Actually, we'll just start with a pizza made in Compose, and then we'll have it. No, we'll ask it directly for the spinning pizza.
It's GPT-5, right?
Of course, yeah, it's GPT-5. We got to do some taller orders here. Okay, so hopefully now with 22 lines changed, we're seeing int offsets being turned into DP and DP offsets, which probably is a lot better. It still has this slight tendency to use fully qualified names, which technically correct, so best kind of correct, but also, it doesn't read perfect. Okay, and then now properly wrapping things into width density, that sounds a lot better. And then the offset being also moved back. I think this probably looks okay. Let's take a quick look here. Sorry, let me make sure that I do actually reload the app. Just do a reload from here, just to be safe. I think it might still not be. It might have still messed up the final positioning. Well, still not in the right place. What's our chat saying in the meantime? Are they blown away by what's going on? Audie, now I'm hungry.
Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I just had dinner, so I'm good.
That's a good move. Okay, great. Now I just need to figure out how to get this image back into Junie. So I'm just gonna take a screenshot. And we can get started on our next prompt. So first and foremost, I'm just gonna drag this from this direct. Oh, that's a really cute animation. I love that. That makes me very happy. Okay, well here's our hydration calculator. Implement this in the UI. Note that the only thing that's supposed to be an active input is the flower. Very good. It's still tinkering away with the fountain. So we'll still give this a second, and then we'll take a look. So hopefully saved. And that looks much better. Well, only on the plus, just like we expected. Okay, so with a couple of small adjustments, we got exactly what we wanted, and it's probably still a little quicker than doing it manually. The part that I'm actually the most curious about in this logic is when the particles will be dropped again. So let's just actually quickly take a look here to see if we're not just spawning an infinite amount. No, indeed, once they've gone through their animation, they do get removed. So we're not just, stacking invisible things at the bottom for forever, and our app was going to slow down to a crawl. So that's a pretty cool change. Sweet. Okay. Well, all of this can go in the garbage now, and we're moving on to well, you know what? We'll commit this just so that we have fountain of plus.
There was a great remark from Maya that you also typically decide the percentage of the water. So, like I said, depending on the style of pizza you're making. But let's see if ChatGPT is smart enough. Another question from Didier. Yes, I think Junie can indeed iterate over the UI of Compose. If I'm not mistaken, it can connect to the Compose preview.
So it can use Compose previews. That is true. With interactive components, I think that's going to be a little tough. But out of the box, I think it should be able to. So I mean, we can even pop open the preview here. Oh yeah, and there it is. Just gotta make sure I'm not losing too many of the windows that I have all at once. And indeed, while this is now a composed desktop only application, just because we wanted to only tinker with that, it's probably a good time to also mention that common previews, like previews that actually exist in the common module, or sorry, the common source set, those are now also supported in IntelliJ and in Android Studio, which is pretty cool. It's a pretty exciting change, because it just makes life so much easier, and it also introduces all the functionality that you might already be used to from developing in Android Studio. So, for example, the animations preview, like interactive preview, all of those things, they also just work out of the box, which is kind of cool. Okay, so while it claims that the main UI has been updated to incorporate a spinning pizza graphic and a hydration calculator, replacing the previous counter and particle effect demo. Okay, only the flower is input, and all the other fields remain read-only with a successful build. How very interesting. Let me save the file.
Oh.
I'm okay. First of all, before I start saying anything, how do the ratios look like? Do those look like vaguely reasonable?
Yes, they look very reasonable to me, actually.
Okay.
It's 65% hydration, which is normal for a normal pizza.
Very nice.
Yeah, I think I could make a pizza with this recipe.
That's awesome. If you do, please, post on the social media. The first GPT-5 pizza, perhaps. Okay. I mean, someone has to say it, right? Well, that's not what I meant when I said spinning pizza. Okay, like come on, you kind of listen, buddy.
I mean, there's no way I could have built this in the same amount of time.
That's very true. I would like for the spinning pizza to resemble an actual pizza with slices and toppings and such. So we'll just drop that in there. And before that, we'll just do a quick commit here. By the way, you can also I kind of like this. You can see that even the AI generated commit messages, they pick up on my style of commit message, which in this demo project is like just all lowercase, bunch of like very, very brief description, which I love, because I think, these two were manual. This one, I like that it takes that into account. Because on the other hand, if that also means that you get rewarded for writing good things, because then it will also write good things.
I was gonna say I've been using the AI assistant for commit message generation for a while, and I thought the assistant was getting better, but maybe my history is getting better over time.
It might very well be. You can actually, if you go into the options and you scroll down, you can change the prompt for the generation as well. So originally, I think my AI assistant changed, like it wrote one line, and then it wrote like a bunch of like lines as a description, which to me always felt a little bit verbose, especially given that oftentimes the longer part felt a little superficial. So I was like, let's cut it to like the minimum, and that's been giving me like really good results for the things that I wanted to do. Okay. So first of all, I love the idea of the fountain of salami slices. That's good information. It's a good idea. What's the difference between AI Assistant and Junie, and will they continue to be separate efforts, or are there plans to unify the two? So our AI Assistant is what you can find in the chat window here, right? And Junie is like the agentic solution itself. But of course, there's only like there's a finite number of text fields that we want you to type into. So we're obviously like seeing how we can make sure that everything is one unified solution, because at the end of the day, like you just want to build things, you want to like prompt the AI to do things. So we'll try to do something there. One other question here from Stephen de Merv is, does the selection of the model change your number of tokens available to you if the prices are different? That's an excellent question. As far as I know, it depends on like what kind of model, like the different models. Don't quote me on this. But the fact that we have the entire list from like the nano models, which are extremely like quick and cheap to run on infrastructure, all the way to like the largest reasoning models, including like Sonnet. Like there should very clearly be a difference also in your tokens. But unfortunately, I'll be quite honest with you, I don't know from my heart. But if you ask me, I'm fairly certain that we do make that differentiation. Okay, so we now have a new spinning pizza composable that's been implemented. We got pepperoni type 0, basil leaves type 1, and olives type 2, which I am very excited to see. I'm seeing colors. I'm seeing colors in the preview. I'm seeing circles. This might end okay. That's a pretty good pizza. I'd like for the toppings to be much more cartoonish. Yeah, like more cartoonishly large. I also listen. I feel like how's they forgot the sauce. I guess I didn't specify, but like I didn't want to like pizza like Bianco. Just where's the tomato sauce?
The distribution is problematic as a pizza consumer.
Yeah, that's it's a little amateurish. There's definitely some slices that I'd rather want than others here. That's for sure. But this is actually really cool because I mean, so far we've seen GPT-5 build a lot of like illustrations in like SVG, right? That's kind of like the classic go-to on the front-end story. But it's quite cool to see that it can draw something like somewhat decent, and it can even throw on some animations that still work just fine with Compose. It is going a little heavy on the circles, but
I mean, I'm still very impressed that we were able to draw a simple UI and able to drag and drop it into Junie, and we got a working screen.
I think that's an extremely like impressive thing. It's really like it changes the entire workflow, right? Because the moment you have something drafted up, the steps from idea to implementation is just drastically shortened. Let's take a look here. Well, again, I'd probably send it back, but I see what they're getting at. It's either it might just be a very even coverage of cheese. Let's say it like that. Yeah. My main concern prompting the question was the feature drift, like image attachments, although those are still a thing, just with different UX. Yeah, totally understandable. I think it's a fair concern, and it is something that we're looking to address. Like we want to make sure that you don't have like 12 windows that you type into. Okay, very cool. Let's think a little bit and see what else we can do with GPT-5. So also, by the way, maybe we should have done that earlier, but indeed, like it does actually do math that they're not just hard coded. We should have probably tried that a little bit earlier. I just believed. That's gonna be a big pizza.
I mean, the hype was so big. We need to go into this with some confidence in GPT-5.
Right.
Otherwise, we're not properly using AI if we don't blindly trust it all the time.
Exactly. So one thing that I do also want to try, and I've kind of prepared a little starter project for us here, is actually working cross language, because so far, like, we've just built stuff in Kotlin, right? In Compose, this is all constrained to a single project. But I also have this little starter project here, which sets up a very basic backend, which is Kotlin and Ktor, everybody's favorite. And then it has a front end, which is written with React and TypeScript. So we just have the two, and I just have both of them here open in IntelliJ IDEA Ultimate. We can start this probably using the run, but I think this should be okay. And then if I pop this open and bring this over here, we can see that this is a very simple like starter application. It just has like light mode, dark mode. So we have something to start with. All the important features, you can click check API health. That's going to do something. And we also have like WebSockets pre-configured. So now I think we can either ask a very similar or a totally different question to just see, like, how does it deal if you want to do calculations on the back end, but then wire it back to the front end? Because especially if you're using TypeScript, you're supposed to have like types on both ends, right? You're supposed to have a definition in TypeScript. You're supposed to have one in Kotlin code. Most likely, you're gonna have to use like a custom hook or something, perhaps, if you write interesting code there. Yeah. So, I mean, should we just drag the same image back in and see what it does?
Let's give it a shot. Why not?
Exactly. Okay, so let's just do that. Implement this app. Make sure that all calculations happen on the back end. We want to be able to tweak. Oh yeah, this is actually a back end. And then we'll add a second configuration page that allows us to change the percentages used for the calculation. Yeah, and then make sure that the pizza graphic is appealing. And we'll just mention that it's in both front end and back end. And make sure that the calculations all happen on the back end. I think that's probably enough for a quick kickoff here, and we'll just see what it cooks up.
TypeScript. That's not too familiar with TypeScript, even less than Compose.
I think actually once you've read a little bit of TypeScript, you kind of start to see a lot of similar patterns. At least for me, as someone who came from the Kotlin world first and foremost, looking at TypeScript code was very interesting because they have a very powerful like type system. It's like extremely expressive. I think someone built like Doom in the type system.
Right.
So it really can do a lot, and you can kind of do like funky things especially with duck typing, which is kind of enjoyable, especially if you're tinkering away and you just have a couple of like smaller things. But there's also like it still does carry over a couple of the issues, probably just from the JavaScript world a little bit. So a bit of the syntax I think is sometimes a little unusual. But the greatest part about all of this is, of course, that all the frameworks have kind of they've kind of all converged, right? So whether you have like a remember mutable state or you're using like a use state, you're getting exactly the same thing. This is, by the way, one of the funny parts so this is the classic pattern that you see in TypeScript, right? Is you get a reference to the actual value and you get a reference to the setter from this function. What's maybe not known that much, I lost my, there it is. what's maybe not known that much is that in Compose, you're actually doing the exact same thing. So you're using the by, right, typically for the for just getting a mutable reference, like one that you can actually change. However, what you can also do is if you just do an equals, you can actually destructure this into like value and set value, and like the type of this, again, it's into unit, that's the setter, and this is your actual like variable. So the patterns are like even closer than you might even realize. There's just a little sugar like put on top with all of it.
Interesting. I didn't know you could destructure the remember function in Compose.
Yeah, it's very interesting. A while ago, we had the problem with some imports for the by expressions, right? And there it became like painfully obvious that you were always typing like equals, and you're like, oh, this is actually a mutable value like of type rather than like a direct accessor. Yeah, exactly. The question here was, where's the Kotlin part? Yeah, sorry, we're just looking at a little bit of the TypeScript front end. I know that you folks might be tuning in specifically to see the Kotlin bits. The answer is it's right here, and we're getting Junie with GPT-5. Certainly, first looking at the overall structure of the application, and then building the pizza KT, which is the pizza routes. So here we can see that, it creates a config one, which uses a pizza config store. So I guess we're setting a pizza config store, which is saved. Okay, it's just in memory. Okay, yeah. So good enough for a first prototype. We see a little bit of we see it apparently really loving the whole run catching, which, how do you feel about run catching, Simon?
I almost never use it. So there's the gotcha with coroutines, and I found over time, I did use it more in the past, but I've found over time that try catch or try finally is sufficient for almost all my cases. So
that's, wow, coming from an arrow main, that's kind of wild. But yeah, it's one of the things, like, especially if you're in Ktor and you're already like deep into the coroutines world, run catching isn't the best of ideas personally. So you might just be hitting some gotchas with this approach. Might be worth prompting your agent, or letting your agent know that this isn't the best idea. That being said, most likely for the happy path, this is all gonna work just fine. We got the calculations, we got the percentages, the divisions, some response. Most likely that means that this calculate response indeed does have a serializable annotation, so it does use Kotlin X serialization the way that we would expect it to, which is quite nice. And it's just created itself a little helper function for round 2, which times 100 divided by 100. Okay, sure. If you would so like. I also do wish we had slightly better functionality for formatting numbers, to be quite honest with you, but that's not a Junie or AI question. That's just a question about our standard library. A question about, should we be using this rather than Gemini on Android Studio? You certainly can. Junie with GPT-5, if you're finding the performance of it to be good for you, then yeah, you can just install Junie. And if you have an existing subscription as well to JetBrains AI, you can just use them over there. Like it can just use the same subscription. So we have all of that available. Yeah. So we can also see now it's running at least the existing tests. I don't think it's added any new tests at the moment, though you can certainly prompt it to do so. Or if you can always, of course, add this also to your guidelines. This project's guidelines are currently empty because we just started on a blank slate. But yeah, let's take a quick look and see here what kind of changes have been made. Otherwise, this settings page has been implemented. We can see that it's just doing regular old fetch. I was really hoping for it to perhaps write a custom hook for some of these things. I am not sure if Axios is configured in this project. It is, so in theory, they could use Axios to make the actual requests. But either way, for a first move, that might still be okay. All right, so we've got something here, and we'll just rerun this. So I kind of like it. It's the pizza dough toolkit. Look at that. I gotta say, the aesthetically, I find the pizza a lot more pleasing. So we also got our settings over here: 65% hydration, then 2.5 and 0.1 on yeast. So I guess if we put in 500 here, we can actually see in the background that we're hitting the calculate endpoint every time we change something, which is exactly what we wanted. So the calculation does indeed happen on the back end, which is delightful. It's very nice. Oh, and it's actually done the wonderful job of just hiding away the existing starter examples rather than just outright deleting them. So that's kind of nice as well. So yeah, we've brought this. It's very cool because now we've taken our little idea for our tiny app, and we've actually brought it to life not just on Compose, but we've also brought it to life on a mixture of React, TypeScript, and Kotlin code.
By the way, how did it look in dark mode?
How does it look in dark mode? I am very glad to see that the pizza's colors did not invert. That was a very good question to ask. That's really good. Can you hook it?
Another interesting question. Yeah, you already saw it. Yes, actually you can. So both Junie and AI Assistant can connect with MCP servers. I'm not sure what you have set up on your machine, Sebastian.
I unfortunately don't have anything set up here on this one. I should probably hook up my lights MCP, my hue light MCP, so that I can tell Junie. That would I could probably tell Junie to flash the lights in a different color when it's done with its task, which nice. that could be kind of fun. But I just don't have that one configured because I'll be honest with you, I don't use the hue control via MCP every single day, even though it's a very nice toy. So yeah, but you can configure it here, and you can do the same for the AI Assistant as well, which also has a model context protocol version. There's a small limitation. In AI Assistant, you can currently use, as far as I know, you are able to use SSE-based servers. With Junie, those are still in the works, so they'll still be coming at a later point. And of course, it's a good point to note that if you do have something that's worth integrating, then you can do so using the official MCP toolkit, which is great. That exists for Kotlin. So the Kotlin SDK, this one right here. It's the official one. Was originally built by JetBrains, but is now part of the Model Context Protocol organization as well. And it's completely multi-platform. So if you're building something there, it's very exciting. Anton also mentions here that the Playwright MCP has been very helpful for him and Junie so far, which is very, very exciting. So I assume that Anton then actually describes exactly the case that Maya was shutting out, which is being able to control the actual the website and making changes there. So there's a lot of things that you can add there. If you have like Perplexity Sonar or something because you want to integrate search results, you can do that as MCP. And of course, any other like local integrations you have. I don't know, your UTrack instance or your Jira instance. If those have like MCP servers set up, you can pretty much just send Junie on a quest to just fix an entire ticket or an entire issue, which is quite cool. It's an interesting question. Before we move on to the next question, I did just want to check actually and see if the calculator, so it uses, so it just created itself a type here, which was the type of calc response, which is just the corresponding type signature of what you have on the backend. So if we go back to the backend here, that's our calculate response. It's very interesting that apparently that it's a calc response and a calculate response. Maybe backend developers are typically more expressive. They use the entire words. Frontend devs like it a little more terse, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah, backend developers don't shy away from very long names.
Certainly so. Before we just dive into the next question, one of the other points that I kind of want this to do is I don't really like it when these handlers are specified directly in like in the actual routing definition. I prefer when they are outside. So actually, also since this is a new installation, let me quickly turn on my inlay hints for types in Kotlin. Those always help me. Okay, these actually don't add the
receivers. That is, this one.
There we go. So all of these live on a routing context. And what I would really love for all of these to more look like is like having a function called like fun routing context, like dot handle config or handle get config. And then using those, because then we can kind of like collapse these, and then at the end of the day, what we have down here, it's just the entire routing tree. That's kind of an annoying change to make manually, but thankfully we once again do have Junie. So I'm actually just going to ask it, see what I did with handle get config. I want you to do that for all the routes in Pizza KT. And hopefully it's just going to rewrite that. Google Gemini seems so much better than ChatGPT-5. That's super interesting. I would be very curious to hear a little bit more about what in particular it is that you felt makes the big difference. Do you feel that it understands better the context that you're providing it, like it extrapolates your intent better? Do you feel that the actual code that it writes looks better? Like, does it write like what you would just call better code? I'm very curious about this, because obviously, like, it's a race that keeps on giving, and we've been with Junie, we've been on the Claude models for quite a while, and now we're on the GPT models. But so we have the ability to change, right, to other models. But I'm just very curious to see where the where you feel the discrepancy. Yeah.
It's a very difficult line to draw. I think Anton also makes a great point in the comments. Depending on the tech stack, the use case, this can all make a difference from my experience, at least.
Oh, for sure. 100%. But look at that. The little pattern that I outlined by just creating this routing context thing, it now did that correctly. So it just, at the end of the day, I just have my pizza routes, and they just call out into the individual functions.
I'm not sure how we should call it, the pattern of prompting that you just used, but it's something that I commonly do where I need to do the same thing 20 times.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do it once and I'll tell the agent to say, look at my example, see the diff in Git, and then replicate it for all the other stuff.
Oh, you just do it with the diff. That's also very cool.
Yeah.
I think that's just like, yeah, is that just like, yeah, I think just prompting with examples, right? But it's a super powerful thing, because especially, and this is probably also just the other part of this, because we did get a question beforehand, and I'll be honest with you, I think it's a totally fair question, which is, how is this fun? And I totally get like how sitting there and like just watching the thing like crunch something, that might not actually be the most fun experience, especially if you're an experienced software engineer. I think there's two answers to this. On the one hand, if you're someone who just needs to get something like done quickly because you're building a small tool for yourself that helps you with something, right? If you want to do pizza and you need to do these calculations and it's kind of annoying the way that you typically do them, just slapping something together like this is really good. The other part is that since the technology generalizes, you can just use this as part of like making refactorings, right? Like making changes to your code, finding places in your code that are like mismatched with like the rest of your application and how certain things handle, and so on. And yeah, like Anton also says, like sometimes like you can solve the interesting part of the problem. You can figure out, I don't know, in your Kentucky Fried Chicken bucket calculator, you can figure out the formula, but you don't have to build the entire front end. So you can wrap things in a much nicer way, much more quickly, which I think enables a lot of use cases.
Yeah, so it enables a lot of things. A couple things I wanted to mention. So, for example, professionally, it allows me to to work faster. Move faster in things that I find boring, like writing a lot of boilerplates after I finish the actual problem. As a software engineer that spends writes a lot of software in his spare time, it's a really cool toy. In my spare time, I don't always have to take it so seriously as I do in my job, and it's fun because I can build a really cool project over a weekend in maybe like 6 hours, and it's just really fun. Another point that I read today is it allows us to think differently about certain things in software. Like sometimes we cannot manage maintaining something, but if it's really simple, you don't have to maintain it anymore. If it's really simple, really testable, LLMs can do a really great job at maintaining simple libraries.
I also found it like so for me, like it gets rid of a lot of the stuff that you had to dredge through in order to like do something nice. I am reminded a little bit of a good friend of mine and like us like wanting to tinker away with some C++ projects and setting up like CMake for like an hour, like getting the thing to build with the one dependency that we needed on our device. And all of a sudden, like a lot of times now, when you can spin up the scaffold extremely quickly, you can do it in a way, or you get to the fun bit faster, you get to the interesting bit faster, which is really cool. The other part that is also there is just there are certain tasks that just take time that nobody would otherwise do, but that might still give you a benefit. One of the examples is we were talking to one of the Kotlin compiler engineers, and they said, we wanted to try a specific type of refactoring that would touch like hundreds of places in the Kotlin compiler, like in order to make it work. Like that's like to get it back to a state where it will work. And like yes, you can lock yourself in for an entire like the weekend and a half or whatever, and you can just do this for 10 hours a day, and then at the end you'll have a thing. Or you can outsource it, especially if it's a well-tested code base. You can outsource it to an agent like Junie, and you'll come back like in less time. And even if the beautiful thing is, if you run an experiment with this and it doesn't work, like you will not have wasted your lifetime on it, which is genuinely like it's a benefit that's not worth like overstating. I think like it's hard to overstate.
Yes, for sure.
There's a couple of other like really cool points here that people have brought up. Raul says it's fun to see what comes up what it comes up with, and then see what you do differently. If it's just vibe code without supervision, the fun is not in the code but the final result. Which I think that's a great way of looking at it. I'm certainly looking at this, and now again I'm a big coroutines head, and just catching exception, that's a no-no, because coroutine just cancellation exceptions are a subtype of exception, so they will get swallowed, and it's going to break your like cancellation propagation here, which is not what you want to do. So I can probably start it with a follow-up prompt either. And the other part, what's Anton writing here?
Oh, that sometimes the agent implements something that you yourself would not have thought of. Actually, I never run into this a couple of times myself. Well, actually, we run into it in this live stream. On the TypeScript website, it hits the other functionality without us prompting it to do it. And it's fun to see these little side effects, like the agent or Junie decides that, hey, we've now introduced this pizza page, so this other functionality does not belong here anymore, so let's hide it.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that something that you might add to some common Junie guidelines regarding exception handling? I think we absolutely should. Certainly on a project level, I should definitely drop it in here. But it's probably also just something that we should make available easily, or that should just that should come baked into Junie, because obviously we want to try it as good as possible, or to make it as nice as possible for you.
I do want to note that if you're working on an existing project that already has a bunch of the routes defined in the style that you prefer, Junie does a really good job of picking up that style even without any system prompts.
Yeah, which is actually something that we can do. We can once this is done, we can ask it to add another route of some sort, and we will see. I hope at least that we will see that it's not just going to jam it right into the into this route, but it will actually put it it will do the same kind of like split and structure for it. So let's see. We'll do something like what might be a good example. We got config, we got calculate.
Let's ask it to add endpoints for different kinds of pizza style.
I like that a lot. To the API for different type of pizza styles. So we're just gonna send that, and we'll see what it does. The actual implementation here isn't quite as important, but we do want to like squint and look at the shape and see what we get there.
So it goes into the pizza file.
Yep. And this is actually it is one of the really great things. Is again, like we're in a small-ish example here. If you do have like a dozen routes files, it's gonna look at like 5 or 6, and it's gonna figure things out. If you have view models, the way that you structure things, the way that you do dependency injection in Compose multi-platform, for example, the way that you pass things, like when you like go back in the nav stack, like whether you're using the state handles, whether you're using the callbacks, like whatever, it's also going to take the same approach. It's not just, it doesn't have a strategy baked in of this is how I do things when I go back. It just it really tries to build things that slot in well, so that you don't end up with a tapestry of a bunch of things. You get something that's pretty consistent, which is cool. And then you will also see it, for example, on the front end. It's going to use like Axios for the custom hooks, and all these kind of things as well. So we've seen a change here. We've gotten the new pizza style. We got the default config. We got a pizza style info, and now we can see that there are new functions here called handle get styles, handle get style, calculate for style. Lots of functions, and then we can see here once again that with this structuring, we just get like our routing tree exactly the same we wanted, the way that we want it to, which is lovely. And this is actually it's something that exactly this kind of change I made for one of my side projects that I built with Ktor, which has the really added benefit of like typically having been written at like 1 a.m., which is like the time where you forget that like maps exist, and you're like, oh, a list of pairs, but why is it so slow, or something like that. So there was like there's a lot of good code to refactor in there, and with Junie, it's been a really fun journey, and yeah, like GPT-5 does a really decent job of emulating these patterns as well as the driving engine for Junie, which is really like that's quite cool. Of course, we should probably actually see what it has built, even though that's not even what we're here for. We're here for the code. So we got the calculator, we got settings. It actually just added the endpoint, so we don't actually have this exposed in the UI. So probably we can drop that in, and we can let it tinker away for just a little bit, and that's probably one of the last things that we're gonna do, because we are slowly going to wrap up here, because we've already been at this for a minute. Raul has a request. I'd love for the next session you guys do to see some Coog in action on the back end with streaming to the front end. Use Junie to build an AI-powered app. I think that is a really good idea. We've already done some experiments with exactly this, so I think we can totally do it. 100%. I think it's going to be a really fun session. We've been doing a lot of deep diving into Coog, actually, like the both of us. So I mean, yeah, sounds really great. If you haven't checked it out yet, or if you're not sure what the heck a Coog is, it's our official framework for building AI agents. So it provides you with really cool APIs where the framework itself manages things like the conversation with the LLMs, but it provides standardized ways of how to integrate with tools. But it also provides like standardized ways of how you define agentic flows using like graphs and type-safe nodes that are all like stuck together. So that's all very exciting. By the way, as a little spoiler, today we recorded an episode of Talking Kotlin specifically about Coog, and it turned out really long, which is always awesome because that means that there's a lot to talk about. So also you have something to look forward to there.
Yeah, if you've not checked out Coog, then you're missing out. It comes with a Spring and Ktor integration out of the box as well.
which is extra cool. So yeah, we'll definitely need to return and show something off on that as well, because I think that's just going to be a great time for everybody involved. So now we can change the Neapolitan. Okay, we're going for the programmer aesthetic here a little bit with the new _York, but still, of course, the calculator. It does not do the well. If you hit calculate with style, I guess it does change it. Not quite as reactive as I would have hoped originally, but something that no doubt is just a couple of prompts away for that. What's your favorite pizza style?
I'm gonna say Napoleon.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really difficult because I really do like all kinds of pizzas.
I think that's a very good and very diplomatic answer, especially if you're still looking to go on code with the Italians at some point. Yeah, but I have to admit, personally, New York has my heart. It's just something about it.
But you can also not find a proper one outside of New York, which
you absolutely cannot. It's truly incredible. I very much tried to do so here in Munich, and even though our water is very hard, has a lot of calcium in it, which I think should it should kind of match the profile of New York. They still somehow don't seem to get it right.
So you've read the New York pizza myths.
I mean, I was also on a New York style pizza arc at some point. I mean, who isn't, right? Every once in a while, yeah. So yeah, exactly. Like Didier said, like, yeah, if you say calculate, use style, you said, maybe. Look at that. Okay, so then it's still only updates once you actually type into it. So it's like, we'll give it a 6 out of 10. I think the pull request would get hit with a strong needs work, but at least it has the nice little visualization now also for the configuration. So yeah, and I have to admit, I think like adding the spinning pizza at the top, I think that was our like master stroke in the beginning. Yes. It makes the entire app so much more nice to look at. It should change the illustration or something. But yeah, no, very, very cool. Well, I think this is probably a great place to wrap it up. Like in short, what have we seen today? Well, we've seen that AI Assistant and Junie, they both now support GPT-5. If you want to learn more about that, you can go to our official blog, where there's more information about this. Kineto, our no-code solution, if you want to try something end-to-end, that can also now bake things using GPT-5. Where I'm leaning into the pizza metaphor a little bit. Yeah. So that was a pretty good time. If you want to try it yourself, hop on over into your local IntelliJ. Make sure you've updated your Junie version, your AI Assistant version. Pick things in the drop downs. Play with GPT-5 and let us know. Does it outperform Gemini?
Yes.
Does Gemini outperform it? Are you still a diehard Claude 3.7 fan? I know those are still out there. I do know it. So yeah, just let us know. But most importantly, thank you so much for tuning in. I really like the idea that Raul brought of doing a session with Coog. I know that there's also already some other live streams for Coog scheduled, so make sure you hit the subscribe button wherever it is, and make sure you hit the notify button on the live tab on our channel, because there are Coog sessions coming up. But I think Coog is awesome enough that, one more session sounds like a pretty good idea. So please come join us for that again. Thank you for tuning in, and have a lovely weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks, Simon.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great weekend, everyone. Take care. Bye.
Bye.